I've tidied up my palette again for the foreground. I have bright red here, that's vermilion red. I still have my crimson, burnt sienna, cobalt blue, we'll need a bit more of that, warm yellow, viridian green, raw sienna and burnt umber, plus my white. To put in a gum tree on the other side of the river, I'm going to use my painting knife. I'll pick up burnt umber and burnt sienna and white on the other side. Oh, touch of red, touch of crimson, touch of blue, keep away from the yellow. Let's see what we get there. Mainly burnt umber and white. And I'd like a tree coming in here somewhere, not too big, about, well, let's do one here. Let's do one about there. You'll notice I've got the light on the inside of the knife, so it's on the inside here. That's to attract your eye into the picture. Now I've loaded the knife again. Let's have another one. Let's say here. How does that look? They're rather tall for beside the river. Usually they spread out near the river, but we'll put some branches coming out later. Clean my knife and reload it, and maybe we can have something like this happening. One coming like that, sort of hanging over into the river. How does that look? Okay. And it might have something like that on it. I'm careful to keep them coming into the picture. And then with both light and dark on my little twiddly brush, my soft little brush, I'll put in some branches. There, hold the brush with 2 fingers. You'll find the paint comes off the brush much easier if you just let it touch on there and let it do its own thing and twist it. Twist it in your fingers as you pull it up. Now these will be covered with foliage in a moment, so if they go wrong, it doesn't matter. I'm glad our background's pale. It's easy to see the branches over the top. I'm putting a lot of paint on there. It's quite a lot of paint. And twiddle, twiddle. Now don't need to put them all on yet. We'll put the foliage on now. And for the foliage I'll pick some more grey. And I'll put a little bit of this viridian green into the straight yellow. That, well, not too much. It's such a powerful colour that you have to be careful. Now that was about half a match head in there, so it's very, very little bit. A bit of white went in, that's okay. And pick up the dark on one side of my brush and the light on the other side. That's both sides of the brush loaded at once. Dark on one side, light on the other. And start at the very top of your tree, the highest part of it. You need to decide where is the highest part of the tree. Mine's up about there. Well, good, it might cover some of those clouds. I didn't like those clouds. So we're going to start on the one that's furthest away, which is that one, right up there, like that. And then another dab. Now the dark and the yellow mix together, and the yellow turns green. So I just need a little bit more yellow on there. Let it hang over the mountain, give you a bit of perspective. And then right up the top, same thing. Dab, 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 dab. I'm turning the brush, let whatever colour I want to come off. If I turn it that way, I just get dark. If I turn it this way, I get colour. So I can adjust what I need. And gum trees always seem to form this umbrella shape. So try and get this umbrella shape happening. You might prefer a different shape of your foliage. You can bring it down, each brush stroke bring it down like that. That's another way of putting gum tree leaves on. It's up to you. But I'm putting it on like this because this is the easiest way for someone to learn to put it on and to learn to use the tools. There we are. And on the top of the tree, while we're here, let's have some beautiful yellow buds. That's probably a tallow wood. Oh no, it's a blackbutt. And over here, even though there's no branches, we'll put the tree in, get it ready. We can put the branches in later. Do try and keep this umbrella shape. Maybe a little bit here. And one dab there. Now my little brush, I'll put in the rest of the branches, here and there. It's a good idea to put the light coloured branches in the dark parts of the trees and the dark branches across the sunlight. So whatever's coming off your brush, if the white's coming off, move it to the dark part of the trees And if the dark's coming off, move it to the sunlight area so you can see it. And this bit here doesn't seem to make much sense, so up there. Down in the water, we need reflection, what's happening there. Put it in like that. Bits of dark, in one here. It's quite a long one, that one. One coming across it there, and one there. Put the white, the dark, just roughly. And what do we got here? We've got a branch about like that. That one goes straight up, it's okay. This one comes out about like that, and this one's broken up. And a little bit of colour, not much. Then my big brush is dirty, so I'll need to use this brush down like that. Clean it, clean it, clean it every time. Straight towards you. Because if you haven't got much paint on there, it works okay. If you're working in oils, you do exactly what I'm doing, but very lightly with your brush stroke, very lightly. Now I'm going to give this a bit of a brushing because mine's dry underneath, and so I can give it to it like that and get away with it. But you be careful doing this, because if you're working in oils, you'd end up with a mess. Now, like that over the top like that, and that should take it back a little bit. And then tidy up my white lines straight over the top again. These should be very pale blue lines actually. If you want to paint correctly, put very pale blue lines here. I've got a few too many white lines also. It's not necessary to put this many on. Sometimes the river, when the wind blows, you see them move along quite a lot. But because I've got so many mistakes here, I do need to put quite a few there. Whichever brush you want to use, tidy up the bottom of the trees. I've got this burnt umber here now, so I'll need to continue it down onto the bank a little bit. Otherwise it looks a little bit odd. Because we're close here, we can use the burnt umber. But in the background, burnt umber is a foreground colour. It should only be in the foreground on this painting. And a few bits and pieces that'll give us the rocks back again. And I'll put some flowers around that. I have the fan brush loaded with dark on one side and light on the other. Let's see what we get. Oh, there's a few little flowers. So let's have a few trees on this side of the river now, not quite so big. Oh, I put the light on the wrong side of the tree. That's alright, I'll use that down here and I'll turn it into a log. And another one. Oh, we better have one here too, I suppose. Out there. Now we'll detail these with a little round brush. With a log, whenever you do a log, put it out like that. A lot of this exercise here I'm doing to show you how to do things, so I'm not trying to paint a perfect picture. We'll continue our trees and coming in towards the river. These are quite tall trees to be in an open space like this. Usually trees in an open space spread out a lot more. Just a little bit. These can be a bit paler because when they come towards us they get much darker. And put a dark butt on them. And we can have bits and pieces laying on the ground here. Burnt sienna and white there, with a bit of burnt umber in it. That's okay how it is. And I'll put a white line down the inside of this tree. And again with our foliage brush, dark on one side, light on the other. Dab it on. This is a size 12 round hog bristle brush. It's gone to that shape because I stood it up in the cleaning bucket. But it's quite handy the way it is. Dab, 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 dab. Don't make it square, because the board's square. Don't make it the top of the tree square. Be careful there. It happens sometimes. And so that's a grey purple. That's a blue grey, plus mainly the yellow. There's a little bit of green in that yellow, but it's mainly yellow there. Clean the brush and pick up more paint. and then get a few distinct brush marks in front of that background foliage. Not quite what I want. That's better. And this tree looks a bit odd, so I'll touch him up too. And then with our little round brush we can touch up all our branches. I think white branches look okay back here, but they should be off-white, not pure white. Slightly off-white. Mine are mixed a little bit with burnt umber. The branches on the gum trees are very white, especially around Christmas time. They go brilliant white and they have a fleshy colour. Now on my brush I have a little bit of bright red. I'll just touch it a little bit here and there on the trees. Now not much. On our forward gum tree here we're going to have a lot of red. But on these background ones you just need that little tiny bit to give you that hint of red on those trees. The ones back there we don't need it because they're too far away. And just a few dabs. Tidy up. What always looks good is a little bit of bright in situations like this. It takes your eye through the trees and you see something bright in the distance. Now we have another look at our arrangement. I've made my tree the same shape as the board. I'll change this. Let it go off there. That's better. Then maybe a branch going out. Through here I'd like a big tree. You don't need to put it in if you don't want to, but I want to show you how to paint them. Come down through there. That's one big gum tree. Brush him in. That was just white paint on my size 12 hog bristle brush. And the idea is to put it on and then move things around to where you want them. Let's have a branch coming here and cutting in there. Why not? Oh, it turned green. Oh well, it's a green branch. And because that branch is so big, the tree will be bigger down here. And let's have another tree right through there. Now don't put it on the intersection where these join. Become confusing if it's there or there. If it comes through there, it has to come through the middle of that. This one can slope that way, and then it needs to come back to the riverbank here. Something like that. So I've got a bit of paint down there. It's easy to pick up. There, like that. Clean the brush. And it should have branches. I'm not real worried about my clouds. If they turned out perfect I wouldn't have put the tree in, but it'll take practice to get to learn to use the brush if you haven't been painting before, but it doesn't take long. I have to hurry along because before the paint dries I want to put these tints in. There's a red tint there. Now that's warm red, that one. I'll run it down the inside of all the trees. Warm red, these are all the same sort of tree, they're possibly blackbutt. And warm red there. Ooh, that became big, that's alright. It's a bigger tree now. And on the outside of the trees, this side, let's say that's the light side and this is the shadow side. I'll run crimson down here. Crimson, and crimson down the outside of this one. I'm twisting my brush. I twist the brush and the paint comes off as I wish. Keep these white. And here I've got the littlest bit of Prussian blue. Put a bit here and there down there. Because we do need the three colours in the tree trunk, there is three colours in everything like this. There's yellow, blue and red. Blue is a different blue from the background, therefore it'll give us a little bit of contrast too. And I'll add some white down, let it run off my brush there. Unload the brush here and brush it all in. So when you get used to it, you'll get used to using whatever's on your brush. If you've got something on your brush like the log there, because it was useful, well, you can turn it into something rather than reload your brush. And all the colours are on my brush now, so I can do these branches and they'll come into the right colours. Now I'll show you how to fix up all those bits, so don't fiddle around with it. And I'll load plenty of white on this tree because I want it to glow. The other colours will show through. Don't brush it in until there's nothing happening, just put it on and leave it. Now here's where you do need to be careful. I've loaded my brush with plenty of white, or not too much, I'm going to use the tip of the brush and I'm going to run a white line right down the inside of the tree, and that'll give us a bit of perspective. First of all, I'll run it on this one and I'll show you what I'm doing on the other one. I'm twisting the brush, turning it so the white line comes off, and it works every time. It'll work. I'm holding my hand on my other hand too, you see, to steady it and pull it down like that, and I'm pushing quite hard on there. Turn it, turn it, turn it. Again, down and turn it as I come down. Run the paint on. Have a look now. You see how it comes off the brush? Turn the brush and it rolls off the edge. There and here. Now, with the knife loaded with burnt umber, you can use a brush if you wanted to do this. All these bits and pieces of the tree where they join, we'll load it on. I'm sculpturing paint on. I'll put the paint on and then I'll move it around. The knife has got lots of paint on it at the moment, and it's missing. I put a bit of paint there. I know I need a lot down here, so I'll sculpture the bottom in here, like that. Up and down, up and down. Don't move it this way. Up and down. And then I can go back and tidy that up. Let the paint mix together. If your paint's dry by now, that's okay too. If you're a slow painter, you do exactly what I'm doing also. And all these intersections need to have bark. Now let's have something happen here. So you can see that branch definitely goes behind the other one. And across here where there was a bit missing, now you can do it with your brush or the knife. In that little bit of red. Just a little bit. Gum trees have brilliant red on them. If you have a look, you'll see that some of the gum trees, the red is amazingly bright, especially after a storm when the air is very clear. I think I could do with some more on there. They're a beautiful tree to paint because they're all odd shapes, so it doesn't matter. It's very hard to make a mistake. And here we can have some sort of a knot happen here. And out of the knot, they often have branches. I need a white branch because it's too dark in the background, so to bring it forward I've had to put a white branch there. And while there's a bit of paint on my brush, hanging off like that, bits of bark hanging off the tree, here and there. Any mistakes in your tree, any holes, just turn into a bit of bark. So it looks like I need a butt on this one. Now with this burnt umber, I'm using pure burnt umber here. It would be a better idea to mix some of your blue and crimson in with the burnt umber. Make sure the tree meets the ground. And again here, into the ground. Now I've got a lot of red on my knife now. Put it in like that. I don't advise you to come back over it with a brush. Put it on and just let it happen. Let it go where it wants to. As long as you just do that, it usually turns out really well. And down this side, a bit of white, a bit of white. Now this is a great opportunity here to put a bit of bark hanging off. Like that. Here again. And clean your brush down here. I'd like to run a branch out, but I wouldn't like to put it through our mountain. So we can run it up and drop it off. I need a lot of white on there to make it stand out. Even brighter. You need to make your own arrangement. You might need this branch here. You might need the tree here. So up the top again. We'll finish our branches off. You might want to take your time. I twiddle the brush, 2 colours on. I don't worry what colour comes off. White might come off or dark might come off. It doesn't matter. Make sure branches cross each other. And I'd say there'd be a branch something like that there because of the shape of the tree. Now my palette's back to its usual mess, so I'm just mixing all the colours together. That was burnt sienna and the green, and I won't put the raw sienna in, that'll lighten it, but I'll put that very dark green in, blue, crimson, and all those colours together, because we just need a bit of foliage now. And I'll put a heap of yellow up there ready too. Now, this brush doesn't look very healthy, but it might work. Dirty it on one side with the dark, pick up the light on the other side, and this will turn green, because as soon as another colour touches it, it'll turn green. As soon as a bit of blue or green touches it, it'll turn dark green. And let's go to the top of the tree. Dab, 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 dab. I want these brush strokes to look different than the other brush strokes because they're much closer. Put them on like that. You don't want them to come down too far because the mountain's just under there. And give them a bit of a run down, a bit of a down look. There. That's the effect I want. Not too much, just that little bit of a down bit. There's two colours on the brush at once. And I imagine there'll be a bit down there. Be careful here you don't leave an area that will attract your eye. If there's a big blue bit there, it'll attract your eye. So have enough foliage to cover any big blue bits. But you still must keep your tree looking in perspective, or looking like a gum tree. And here, now that's the edge of the board. I'll keep away from there. I can have the blue bit there, I'd say. But here, I want a bit hanging about there. Now it's up to you where you put them. Think about it before you put them on. You see how that attracts your eye out of the picture? We're going to have to stop that. And that will stop your eye travelling up the outside of that tree. And maybe we have to have a couple of bits here. We'll try that. And then with a little round brush and some very pale tones, put in a few smaller branches here and there. Not a lot. That might do. And I just use the rest of my paint up to give us some foliage down here. This can be very dark and very light, this bushes down here. There we are. Just a few little bushes down there. Now, what have we got and what do we need to improve the painting? I think a little bit more yellow back here to match the yellow in the foreground. Maybe a tip on that tree on one side. Bring it forward a little bit. And this branch is in the middle of the picture, but it doesn't stand out, so let's run a white line from it down into there. And another one. Have to be careful here, holding the brush with 2 fingers. You don't need this branch if you don't want to put it in. And then a dark line to run beside it. And there's always bits and pieces laying under these gum trees, so we must put that back in. That's better. And just tidy up a few bushes. What else? Still not happy with that white line. I think that's better. And a white line to break this here. Those white lines are confusing. They look like they join onto the tree. Let's knock them back with a bit of colour. I guess if we put a twig on the log, it'll look more like a log, won't it? There we go. That's our Mount Chinny and the Brunswick River.